While the wildfires continue to devour and spread in Los Angeles, different theories have been created to explain this correctional judgment from God. One major culprit in explaining away this kind of God's fury is the corrupt mainstream media. It will be noted that this state has been experiencing a major drought that records back to 1944. God's judgment is sometimes expressed in lack of rain over a region that has been having consistent unfaithfulness. Apostle Takim explains more on what is happening in California.
I was getting report about the fires in Los Angeles, and somebody was showing me how they tally with the prophecy of the crossover night and the miraculous escape of believers. How fire burned round and skip over houses. You get my point? And California is the most corrupt place on earth. California is it's worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. The most corrupt place on the face of the earth as we speak right now. It's like God's fury is just burning. If people don't wake up to such fires, if they take it as, because what the media of Baal is doing is explaining it away, turn it into human error, human mistake. You see, the only way you keep people hard in a hardened heart when God is chastising them is to tell them that the chastisement is normal, it's not God. Because every human being will fear God when they see his fury. But all this media, CNN and the rest of them, is to explain, is to make the world ungodly, is to promote humanistic philosophy and secular humanism and make sure that people don't trace God in his judgments. They just explain it when, for instance, the judgment of God on the gay that is killing them, they take it as health situations. There are certain diseases that are judgment, they are not just health. They're not just health problems. Any disease you can't explain and you know it's not demonic, just know that it's judgment. So our mandate as a church is to help the world understand the judgment of God. When he's expressing it, you tell them this is God's judgment. They could hate you, they could call you names, but that is a cost. So we live in a season that we just have to fast, we just have to seek God, we just have to humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God. Are you understanding me?
A violation of the governing principles of what God initiated will always lead to disasters and all kinds of problems in our lives. The state of California has been violating the governing principles of God on marriage for a long time by embracing gay, lesbianism, and transgender abominations. Those abominations have led to these disasters of wildfires in Los Angeles. Apostle sheds more light on this.
Every fall and disaster in human lives has been created by a violation of the principle God created to govern what he initiates. Every fall and disaster in human lives has been created by a violation of the principles God created to govern what he initiated. Does that make sense to you? Every fall and disaster in human lives has been created by a violation of the principle God created to govern what he initiated. So he initiated the human life, for example. If we don't embrace the principles God created to govern the human life, then we are going to cut disaster and destruction. The same way, marriage was initiated by God. So God has governing principles for it. If we violate the governing principles, then we are cutting disaster and destruction. Just like we have so many disasters and destructions and bruises and illnesses on earth today because the principle of marriage was violated by man. So look at this. When God initiates a thing, I repeat, he has a government or a governing principle for that thing. So when you come into the thing and destroy the governing principle, either based on ignorance or any other reason, it will bring in destruction, bring in damnation, bring in all kinds of problems that you ought not to have. For instance, in the area of the dwelling of cities. Let me go into that because of what's happening in Los Angeles. The fire is still burning now as we speak. It's moving from city to city like a human being who is visiting nations. All these things are in the Bible. Oh God. There's a place in the Bible that says when the Levite violate. Okay, it's very clear. When the sons of Aaron offered to God a strange fire, what happened? I know a pastor in Nigeria who did something that was a strange fire, and the two altered the entire Nigerian nation. It wasn't long, fire came out, consuming his entire house and everything in the house. So this fire is not spiritual fire, it's physical. It's normally physical. When the Bible says fire proceeds from God, it's not spiritual, it's physical. If you read the book of 2 Kings, there was a time that the Babylonians came to settle in the cities of the Jews, and they did not live according to the God of the Jews. Lions came out and was eating people. So even cities will be visited by disasters if the governing principle of human life is violated. Do you understand me? There's a city in the US whose law, let's assume a child is born, a pregnancy is up to 9 months, and the mother now change her mind that she don't want her child, they can kill the child. Even when the child is, even not for Donald Trump, there was a law that if the child is even few hours old and the parent don't want the child again, they can kill. Do you understand what I'm saying here? There's one law that has been decriminalized in Kenya recently. I don't know if people are following your news. That when somebody attempts suicide, it's no longer a criminal act. Just recently, the court ruled. They are preparing this nation for disaster. I pray what's happening to us in Nigeria does not happen here. Because our own, they kill all our laws. And our own is corruption. That is the killing of human beings in the name of religion is why Nigeria is suffering. People have been killed so much in the name of religion. The blood that have flowed in Nigeria. So your own is the changing of the laws. That's why the city of all those Los Angeles cities are burning. Because of they use human law to legalize things that God called abomination. When human laws legalize abominations, cities burn. They burn that way. When you see a fire skipping houses, you should know that God is involved. It's not in the book of Revelation. The Bible says before the judgment begins, God will seal the elect. So those houses were sealed before the fire broke out. Even Catholic Church image were even protected. God is saying, I will even protect a molding image that carry a godly name than a house built by the wicked. So there was a man, his house was burnt, but the image of Mary and Joseph was spared by the fire. That is God telling the man that even this image was more righteous than you. So we need prophets to give interpretation to those events. Are you understanding me? Do you know that on crossover night, prior to the new year, 4 major buildings in America were struck by thunder at the same time? 4 major buildings, their parliament, the Statues of Liberty, the New York one other building, and the former World Trade Center, which they have built and made it taller, is now called Ground Zero. Those 4 were struck at the same time by thunder. And God speaks in thunder. What did God say? Well, let me leave that for other days. So please, let's fast 10. And let's be serious. Perhaps God will spare us. He will show us mercy and spare us from what is coming this year, or what is already happening, in the name of Jesus. So the violation of God's initiative is the reason for man's pain. The violation of God's initiatives is the reason for man's pain. Even our bodies don't belong to us. When we violate them, men now decide to be women, and women decide to be men. It's a violation of God's initiative.
Thanks for watching.